come and play on stage like this, like amongst, you know, reggae's biggest and best. Yeah, it's very special.
If you don't feel sick before you step onto like a stage that you really respect, then you become complacent.
The real power of this stuff is in a live setting, like people coming in front of the speakers and having a good time.
Music brings people together. It touches you, and it touches the person next to you just the way it touches you, so it unites you.
One love to the people, because festivals are about the people.
I love what reggae symbolizes, the roots, the foundations of reggae, the love, the peace, the harmony.
With that sort of music, you're gonna attract a certain crowd, a very calm, loving, spiritually awakened crowd. It just makes it all fun.
What's going on?
Lion's Den is like the heart of this festival. It's like an imposing presence. It's like we're here and we're not fucking about. Like we are not messing around here.
When it first started, it was, you know, it was an indoor tent.
Probably catered for around 400 or 500 people.
It was much more intimate and smaller.
Still had that Aztec sort of temple sort of theme.
It was always rammed and it was always vibes.
I've had a ball and thank you for inviting me. May there be many more. Boom, boom, boom.
We're taking you way back to old school.
I remember 2011, when the Lion's Den was a tent, yeah, and it was like a lion's face. And you were like walking into the jaws of the beast.
Boomtown before was a boomtown for the revolution.
It just grew and grew, and then we couldn't find a tent big enough to hold the audience, so we decided to bring it outside.
Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. I said, don't give up the fight.
The concept of the Lion's Den was always based around a temple. We just decided that we wanted the audience to be immersed within the music, not just be looking at another stage that you see at any other festival.
If you believe it's gonna be alright, so to see you waving all the way in the back. Sing along. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. We're singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright.
Where it's come from to where it is now is insane.
When it moved into this amazing valley, they realised that we need to make it bigger to work.
As soon as we turned the sound system on, people just run to the stage to get to the front of it.
The concept of doing something on this scale to that many people is just massive.
It's such a strong statement. I was in the crowd last year for Gentleman's Dub Club.
Waterfalls on the side, flames shooting high up in the sky. It's an impressive beast.
Lots of people who are really dedicated to the Lion's Den sort of ethos tend to come and camp around this area now. I mean, there's nothing better to wake up to than reggae.
Don't you lose your way. Material couldn't make I say. We have love and happiness. Yeah, we are.
To see a reggae stage actually grow is a very welcome thing. There have been some downscaling of some of the reggae festivals. You know, a few festivals went under.
It's a sad thing because the underground music is not really being exposed on an international level.
The reggae scene, for me, I've seen it struggle for quite a few years. And to be able to bring these reggae artists over, who a lot of them weren't getting booked anymore in the UK, you know, and it was really tough for me as a reggae lover to see it.
I feel like reggae is underrepresented in festivals. The sound systems need to be a certain way. There are really big worldwide artists that other festivals aren't putting on.
Damian Marley, I mean, we've been trying to book him for 3 or 4 years. We weren't known as a reggae festival, so it was really quite a hard one to convince their management that actually we've got probably the biggest reggae stage in the world, but we're not really known as it. When we got the phone call back in December to say, yeah, let's do this, it was really special.
In this world of calamity, dirty looks and grudges and jealousy, and police where abuse them authority, be the clown when I know board for the youngest veteran I go start on them slow. Ragamuffins said to call me from the bush bungalow. And watch it make a clear on my voice, no figure up. Birds from the darkness in the big burnt up glow. I'm a them a spectator get low. Boy, could I think like Bam Bam Bigalow. But stop trigger, finger, trigger, and then trigger toe. Two gun away and we busted in a stereo cause.
It's very important for artists to be able to step up and represent in the right way. You know what I mean? I know a lot of other big artists have come and done the show before, so it's good to be in that company.
You know, Lion's Den is a big stage, so you put a young artist on it, you play their music and they hear it coming through the speakers, they feel validated by that, and trust me, we all need that.
It gives a platform to perform in front of audiences of other genres as well.
So somebody who is going to listen to a drum and bass set is going to listen to reggae, is going to listen to mongos. Do you know what I mean?
All these other sounds and spin-offs and sort of modern day takes, it all comes back to reggae music, you know, that influence.
If you can get a rock song to groove within the reggae realms, or a reggae song to groove within the rock realms, you know, that's great.
So many different bands that without reggae wouldn't have sounded anything like they do. So it had a huge impact on the music that we play.
Good morning, miss. Can I help you, son? 16 today, ha! And up for fun. I'm a big boy now, and so they say, so if you serve me on my way.
Traditionally, we don't really put ska music on the Lion's Den, but because of the size of Madness, you know, we put them on the Lion's Den. And of course they do House of Fun, which references them being in the Lion's Den.
Welcome to the House of Fun. Now I've come of age. Welcome to the House of Fun. Yeah. Welcome to the Lion's Den. Temptation's on its way. Welcome to the House of Fun.
Just look around and just seeing everyone with, you know, that really sort of happy sort of mood. It makes me really proud of what we've created. I don't think there's anything else like it in the world.
You can get it if you really want!
Big artists on a big stage, on a big sound system. That's important stuff for people who are into the culture.
You can get it if you really want.
Sometimes not what you're playing, it's what you're not playing, and that's what makes the reggae bass line different.
You can get it if you really want.
The amount of love that you get at the Lion's Den, I haven't got anywhere else.
You succeed at life.
We drop that drum, we drop that bass, we look out and boom.
I was being the lion in the Lion's Den. Mufasa, you know what I mean?
You can get it if you really want. You can get it if you really want.
The only problem with where it is now is where do you take it next? And I don't know if anyone's got that one.
You succeed at last. Do you know this song? 1, 2, 3, say you can get it. What to say? What to know? What are you gonna do? Try. And then what?
I don't know why it isn't more prevalent in society. It should be. I think people really resonate with that. It's important. We're trying to create an event that represents how we feel society could be. And I think that's what makes Boomtown so special. And I'll be honest with you, that's why it's going to be here for a long time. The Respect campaign. There's 3 levels. Respect yourself, look after yourself. You're no good to the community or to the team you're working with if you're dehydrated or you're tired or you're hungover, or, you know, that should be there in life in general, and especially here at this festival we want to push that.
And then we have the respect each other aspect of it. Boomtown's a bit different, and we're all about like bringing in people from all different cultures, all different backgrounds, all different music scenes. Appreciate that and look out for each other and care for each other and check in on each other and respect everybody's backgrounds and everybody's individuality.
And then on the back of that, there's respect your city, respect your town, respect your community and respect the planet.
It's absolutely beautiful and stunning around here, and so much work goes into create this city within an amazing national park. Within this environment there is a huge amount of respect that's already there, but what we really want to do is to try and evolve that and work on that, so actually every single aspect, every single part of the festival, everybody in attendance feels respected, and everybody working feels that all the hard work they've put into it is respected at the same time.
Boomtown is special. It's not just because of the crazy, off-the-chart creative content. It's evolved and developed conscientiously and correctly all the way through, and I think that's one of its core strengths.
I think addressing the problem not like a child is a great start. Talking about it and not being like drugs are bad and you can't do them, end of story. That's the way it's always been done. That didn't work. It feels like the decisions are made by people that know nothing about drugs or the culture or the fact that they are everywhere and you need to talk about them.
The current approach to drugs doesn't seem very effective at all. It hasn't stopped people from taking them. People taking unknown substances, they don't know the quantity, they don't know what's within them. So it's actually pushed people into the underground where they don't have any access to any information on actually what they're taking and putting in their bodies.
People tackling drug crime has been going on for donkey's years and it's got worse. The war on drugs is not working, you know, and that is now widely accepted. It feels like this huge evolution in the festival world. All of a sudden things are stepping up and we're progressing, so everyone's obviously thought, let's take a different approach.
Our policy towards drugs is that they are illegal, that don't bring them into the festival, but we acknowledge through experience that drugs will still get into the festival. So we just wanted to have a much more kind of encompassing approach, try our best to keep them out, but acknowledge that they will get in, and then what can we then do to keep people safe?
You can't just write it all off as a sort of like, okay, you're not allowed to do it, end off, because people are doing it. So you have to say, if you're doing it, what are you doing, how much are you doing, why are you doing it, and how can you do it safely?
People accept that rates of drug harm in the UK are going up. The approach that we've had that's for years centred around prohibition, centred around enforcement is not working in terms of reducing harm. So most people in the public health community are very aware that we need to take a different approach to it. Things we can do on the ground to reduce rates of drug harm.
We would like to use the festival platform for us to be able to introduce these new harm reduction services and ways of bringing in public safety and education towards drugs.
Hello, Boomtown! Listen up. The powers that be of Boomtown have asked me to come on here and talk to you guys about drugs. Now you guys already know, you've already made your decisions about this and no one's telling anybody what to do, but they've asked me to inform you about a thing called The Loop, which is an on-site, free, anonymous drug testing facility. It's at the bottom of the hill. Now so there you go, you know this shit. Find out what you've got, you can go there, you give it in, it takes a couple of hours, and find out whether it's concrete or whether it's cocaine. You know, because it's worth knowing this stuff as well. We're a community here. And we need to be wise. Drugs are dangerous. You need to look after each other, don't mix it, know what you're doing, and just enjoy yourself and have a beautiful weekend, yeah?
For me, it's complete common sense, and it's insane the stupid laws that are around it, and because of that, you get such horror stories and a kind of weird stigma.
Over the years, we have had some really heartbreaking situations, and it affects us more than you can ever imagine, really.
Eleanor, my daughter, Belinda's older sister, Iona's younger sister, and Saskia's goddaughter. She came to Boomtown working for Oxfam in 2013. She was so excited to be coming. She came with her friend on the Thursday. She'd done one shift for Oxfam. She and her friend, they'd been wandering around just looking at things. They drunk some beer and they scored some ketamine in the woods, as it transpired later. And then they took it, and Eleanor lay down, and it was only a little bit, but she never got up. And it was the combination of the ketamine and the alcohol, it was beer, which killed her. She was a highly intelligent person. I would never have thought she would do such a thing, but she was inquisitive. She was a merry soul. I mean, look, here's pictures of her. Look at her, smiling away. I came and did a talk for the first time last year, and it's very hard to come here because this is my daughter's grave, basically. My daughter's her sister's graveyard, so we're not coming to have fun, although it is a beautiful place and Boomtown is amazing, actually. We can see why she wanted to come. Can you hear me now? Oh, that's better.
It ended up being transformative.
It was last year.
For all of us, I think, together. It was,
yeah.
We made that little black hole on Earth, somewhere that You know, it's just earth. And it's
a nice thing for Elle.
And
Yeah.
it took that stigma away.
She was a happy person all of her life. I asked a friend who was with her, what were her last words? And her friend said, well, I can't remember, but I remember when we were taking it, I said, we don't know what's in this. And she laughed. Well, that's so typical. Her last words were a laugh. I think her first words were a laugh as well. She was always laughing. She was a happy person. Why ketamine? I didn't know anything about ketamine then. Unfortunately, I know quite a lot about it, though I wish I didn't. I never thought my daughter would take such a thing. And this is the thing, we don't know what we don't know. Eleanor didn't know how strong that ketamine was. She didn't know that the ketamine and the alcohol were a possible lethal combination.
We all, I think, feel it's important, one, to celebrate our beautiful Eleanor, but also to spread consciousness and awareness and information and education. You know, we all do an experiment with lots of different things, but it's really important that people have information. I think I can say for all of us are impressed that Boomtown has embraced this family, embraced the fact that this young woman died here, and led a major public information campaign, which I think has affected a lot of people. And I know that because I meet people all over the country at festivals who go, oh, Eleanor, that girl at Boomtown, that's not going to be me. So that's very much a part of this process and why we're here.
I'd just like to thank this family for their incredible bravery at coming back to these fields and to be sharing this story with no judgment, just open hearts and sharing it with all of us. Feels like one of the most powerful moments I've had in a field like this for a long time.
I think everyone thinks they're invincible and they don't think that they can ever die. And I know Elle didn't think she was going to die. She didn't think at all that. And
happens to other people.
Yes. Yeah, and just do one stupid mistake and you can just take everything away so easily.
In the UK, drug-related deaths are at their highest rate ever on record. This isn't a problem just for Boomtown or just for festivals. This is a situation right across the country. But Boomtown has had some fatalities. And so I think there was a mindfulness from everybody to help do everything possible to make sure that that didn't happen again. So there was the situation with Ellie, who took ketamine combined with alcohol, only a very small amount, a very bad combination. And I was really pleased to hear Wendy, the mother of Ellie, who was at a talk yesterday, who was saying that she supports the drug testing on site. And it's always really heartening to us to hear that they support our service and understand that we're not, we don't enter into this lightly, and we're not trying to encourage drug use or increase drug use. We're trying to flag up the dangers of drug use. Most of the people who come in our tent will have already bought drugs, smuggle the drugs in and be intent on taking them. So our view is if 100% of our service users were planning on taking the drug beforehand, we can only improve on that figure by reducing it. So in a way we see ourselves as the last line of defence.
When somebody comes in, they will come over to our intake booth. We'll have one of our members of staff will be sitting here, who will ask them, have you got a sample to drop off with us today? And they will put a little bit, about 1/20th of a gram, into their sample bag. And somebody will come out every 5 minutes from the lab and take those samples through so that we can run them through the analysis process.
When we get a sample in, first it goes into the sample tray just here. Then we put a little bit on the sample stage of our infrared spectrometer. What then happens is it shoots a beam of infrared light at our sample. That then creates a unique fingerprint which we match against our database of lots of legal and illegal drugs and other substances. And if it matches any of them, then it will tell us hopefully what it is. And we can also find out what else might be in it. This sample was meant to be, what was it meant to be?
It's a pill with MDMA.
It's meant to be a pill and it seems to just contain lactose.
Wow. Actually it was logged, it was bought as Chinese Valium.
So this person thinks they've got ketamine, and we've just put it on the sample stage. So it's now scanning the sample, and in just a few seconds we will hopefully find a match for it and find out if it is indeed ketamine. So that we found out that sample is indeed ketamine, so we can now feed that information back to our harm reduction worker, who can deliver the appropriate advice for that sample.
We will look up what the results of their test was. The harm reduction worker will take them through to a booth, and we will then go through some questions that help us to understand the sort of origins of the sample. So for example, if there's something on site that's being sold on site and is potentially dangerous, then we would need to much more urgently put out a warning than we would if it's been in their sock drawer for 5 years. Once we've done that, we'll give them their result. When we give them their result, we'll tell them what drug it was, how that compares to what they expected to be, what the risks are that are associated with that drug, what they can do to mitigate the risks that are present.
One substance of particular concern is we've had about 7 samples submitted that were sold as MDMA, and they are actually this other drug called pentolone. It's not very pleasant at all. It certainly won't feel like MDMA, which means people might take more. If people take more than they expect, they might end up not sleeping for maybe 1 or even 2 days, which is enough to kind of put them in trouble.
1 in 5 people who used the service, and once they found out the results of the composition of their drugs, they chose to hand over the rest of what they had of that drug and have that disposed of. So immediately you're seeing a significant proportion of the most dangerous substances being taken out of circulation, and that can only be a good thing.
It could be some people's opinion that this is seen as promoting drugs, but that it feels very much like that is not the case at all. You know, we're still promoting the laws of this country, saying that drugs are illegal, do not bring them into the festival. And when people are within the festival, it's actually about education.
I think it's brilliant that Boomtown have been one of the first festivals to actually get us here, and they're the biggest festival that we've done so far by a long way. But some of the other initiatives that they put in are great. So they've got Chill Welfare, who run a brilliant service.
Chill started up a few years ago. It's a non-profit social enterprise, and we specialise in providing welfare support for people that are affected by drug or alcohol issues, mental health, sexual health, and just general well-being as well. Something that we've trialled for this year that's working really, really well is we have a roaming patrol in the campsite. So we've got teams of 2 people attached to each campsite hub, and basically what they do is go through the campsites, chat to people, check on anyone that looks like they might be having a difficult time or might be a little bit intoxicated.
We're just welfare, we're just coming to check in on everyone, making sure everyone's okay, keeping safe, drinking water.
Sun cream, anyone?
Do you need any sun cream?
No.
It's not a legal requirement to have a welfare provision. There's only guidance on medical provision. So the majority of events just don't budget what it actually would cost to put on a service like this. We're starting to see some improvements in that, and definitely Boomtown are one of the organisations that try and push that the most.
Quite a radical step for any festival to take. They're putting their head above the parapet. We think we can help reduce drug-related harm on site, and we're just really pleased that Boomtown have given us the opportunity to help show that.
As a pilot year, it felt really, really successful. The Loop had more people take their services than any other festival they've ever experienced. I think it was like around 1,100 or so people. The fact that we had a reduction in medical representations due to drug taking was really amazing as well. Everything across the board was a resounding positivity in terms of that.
From where we've been to where we are now, you know, it's just an incredible step forward. I mean, this year it's just, I just feel so proud of what we've achieved this time, and I'd like to expand the drug testing facilities. We thought, God, are we going to get a couple of hundred, maybe 300 people tested? There was over 1,100 people who got tested for drug testing by the end of yesterday.
I know because of the legal issues about drugs, it's been very difficult for festivals to have a place that's safe for people to use to test their drugs. And it's something I've hoped would happen for many years.
If we look around the world at international evidence, there is no link between levels of usage and levels of enforcement. In places, other countries where decriminalisation has happened, facilities like this are provided, use hasn't gone up. Those fears have not been proven to be true.
I think club culture and more now festival culture does move these things forward. It's forward thinking and it's open-minded. It feels like this is the beginning of a long story that will end better for everybody, but it does feel like it's starting here.
I'd just like to say thank you once more to Wendy and her family, and I'd like a huge round of applause for their hearts being so open.
Hello, this is a picture of Ellie Rowe, her younger sister Bindi, and here's her older sister, Iona, and I'm her mother, Wendy. So Ellie, sadly, is famous not for being the most magnificent human rights lawyer since George Clooney's wife or Bridget Jones's first husband, but for being the girl who died at Boomtown on the 8th of August 2013 after consuming a combination of ketamine and alcohol. It wasn't a long line. It was a bit long, but it wasn't that long. It was strong, pure strength, wasn't a lot of alcohol. Had she been done for drunk driving, she'd have been just a tiny bit over the limit. But it was the combination that finished her off. So we're here to talk about her 7 years on the 8th of August 2020. Not a minute has gone by without the heaviness of her loss weighing upon us. And grief is a funny thing. People bear grief in different ways. They transform grief, they deny grief. Whatever we do with grief, it's up to each one of us. But it's hard. There are times when the earth turns to liquid pitch, the sky goes black, and the air is like 1,000 knives, and the world is a very uncomfortable place to be. But I have Ellie's 2 other sisters, and her father, and I breathe, I do yoga, I do all I know how to do, I carry on. And we think about Eleanor a lot, all the time. And she does in a way make it easy for us because a lot of the memories are funny. There's the famous pizza incident, for example. So there she was off on a Duke of Edinburgh escapade where they had to be abandoned to the wilderness and use their resources. I think they were expected to rub 2 sticks together to make fire, which, by the way, Ellie could do, and eat worms and so on. But given a choice, she'd rather not have done. So, eat worms, that is. So, what did she do? She somehow got her teachers to reveal the postcode of where they'd be staying that night. And when they got there, what did she do? She rang up Domino's in Bristol and got them to deliver pizzas for her and her team. And so while all the rest of them were presumably, heating up pot noodles or rubbing 2 sticks together and digging up worms or whatever, Ellie and her team were eating Domino's pizza. So can't help but laugh even when we're crying, because that's the sort of person she was. She was intelligent, but she still took ketamine in combination with alcohol because she just didn't know that ketamine plus alcohol equals, in her case, death. There is information available about combination of drugs and other substances. The Loop are doing fantastic work at Boomtown and other places, and there is an app.
Yes, told to me by actually one of the Loop peoples, beautiful peoples, and it is actually a medical app, but if, for example, you're on prescription medication and you're going to take ketamine, then it would give you information about contraindications. So when I say it's a medical app, it means that it doesn't include purely recreational drugs such as cocaine, but it gives you indication in dose, contraindications, cautions, side effects, guidance if you're pregnant or breastfeeding. So it's useful, and the information is out there if you do seek.
B for Boris, N for not, F for
Foxy.
Yeah. So at the moment we have quails and cute little creatures, but not the brightest. And one of them was having trouble hatching, so we helped him out of his egg, and it was noticeable once he came out how the others perceived his weakness and pecked at him, and so we had to isolate him and look after him separately. Once he was strong enough and had fed and everything, now he's back in with the rest of them and he's doing absolutely fine. They're no longer picking on him, but very noticeable, this thing in nature whereby it is the survival of the fittest. And sadly, we have that in human nature, we have that tendency to yes, that those who we perceive to be weaker than ourselves. And it's lamentable because we are humans, we're not quails, and we can actually expand our consciousness and rise above that. But we're not perfect, any of us. It's good to be mindful, but we are humans. And Ellie did take a risk. Perfectly normal to take risks. Young people take risks. I took risks when I was younger. I hitchhiked all around Europe, all over the place, through Greece, America, coast to coast, down through Central America, down through Peru. Oh, I wasn't completely mindless. I would not accept a lift if I didn't get the right vibe from the driver. A couple of occasions I did have to talk my way out of sticky situations in languages not English. Don't hitchhike, kids. I won't tell you not to take drugs, but I will tell you don't hitchhike. Just because I did it. Because I'm older and wiser now. And I never thought of my parents, really. They, when questioned by other people, not by me, I must add, said, well, if we ever worried about Wendy, we'd never sleep at night. So they didn't. And I didn't worry about them. But now I do know how very, very terrible it was for them to lose their granddaughter, Ellie. For all of us. We don't know just how valued we are, how much loved we are until we die, in which case the information's useless. So it's too late. There are people who have said, to my face even, if she took drugs she deserved to die. I've been told that by a young lad who is obviously parroting what his father had said, so I hold no animosity. People will be more cruel on the internet. Well, best thing for us is just not to go there. But humans can be like the quails. And I would say if you're ever tempted to judge somebody for a perceived weakness, for not knowing what you know, think again, because none of us are perfect. Think about a time when you made a mistake. We've all made mistakes. To be here listening to us speaking, you're alive, we're alive, great, we've still got time to redress the balance. But just be kind and compassionate, think outside the box. It makes such a difference, it changes lives. My personal journey is with yoga. In order to transform the sky to blue, the earth to something solid I can walk upon, and to turn the wind to a caress, I breathe in and especially out, because breath is the crux of transformation. We're not quails. Be kind. Eleanor was such a kind person. Thank you.
And yeah, on the note of transforming the grief, for me, I've been totally obsessed with the idea that after 7 years of being missing, you're deemed legally dead. And that's played on my mind for a long time, and now we're here. It's 7 years. Now I know Eleanor isn't missing. I can refer to the memory where I drew circles on her cold forehead and pushed her coffin into the hot flames. And in fact, she sits with us now in her dusty formation. But that doesn't mean that my subconscious doesn't dream up 101 whimsical ways in which that she's still alive somewhere and I can find her. I found her in the crooks of Cornwall, hiding in a caravan, just casually floating back from Thailand or whatever have you. And even up in the cosmos, in the jaw of a cosmic serpent. She just needs to be dislodged and then she'd come back, it's fine. But yeah, so this year I've really kind of taken those dreams and felt my grief to root itself. And so just as the tree, the deeper the roots, the higher the tree, the deeper my grief and my pain is, it's expanded the heights of my capacity for love. And that love, respect, admiration and dependence, interdependence that I had with my sister, I now find in all things and in all people and all creatures in our wondrous world. And I really want to say that I know that the forces of fear and confusion and anxiety given back to us by the powers that be are floating around on a judgmental raised eyebrow above a covered face or an awkward twitch in a supermarket. And if you're listening to this and sitting with fear or grief or shame or pain in your heart, that I love you and I love you deeply. And we may have lost Ellie Rowe and we may have lost this chapter of Boomtown, but those forces of love and light are still out there. The ingredients are still within our world, and we will convene again. Yeah, bring in the beauty with every breath, and be kind to yourself and others, please. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Ellie Rowe is in my dreams
and in my heart.
Hi, my name's Belinda Rowe. I'm Eleanor's sister.
Hi, I'm Tara. I'm Belinda's best friend, and I'll be speaking on behalf of her father, Bradley. Bradley reminds us of the thousands who don't die when they take drugs, but decrease their quality of life long-term by damaging their livers, kidneys and lungs, in turn creating mental unease and lower capacity for the joys of human existence. Our hearts go out to every struggling soul right now. Ellie, like all people, all young people, believed she was invincible, but, as she demonstrated, none of us are. Bradley asks you to value your body and take care of the 30 trillion cells that take care of you every second of every day. In the current state of affairs, a true rebel is someone who takes good care of their health.
Eleanor was my sister, but before that, she was my best friend. She saved my life and countless others before she died, but she shouldn't have died. No one should have a sister die at such a young age. No one should have a sister, a daughter, a friend, anyone to die. That shouldn't happen, but it did, and it will always happen every day. But Elle died from ketamine, and it's horrible. It's heartbreakingly awful. It sounds preachy, but maybe that's what we need in this world, to talk about this, to talk about loss in this world and how it's handled, to talk about drugs and death and the scary parts. The scary parts hurt. They hurt so much it's hard to breathe. But it needs to be talked about. I miss you, Eleanor.
Boomtown is a great way to escape reality.
I like being in the mosh pit. Always. We work for Gamma, an organisation that are about providing accessibility at festivals. First year we came, we just had a little golf buggy that was running up and down. Last year we had the one minibus. This year we've got 2 minibuses running on a loop. We now cover Hilltop. So it's just about making sure that people with disabilities can get to the same venues, can experience the same experiences as everybody else can.
We don't really look at the festival as a place with boundaries, especially for a wheelchair. We just get a bigger crew if it gets difficult.
They try so hard, above and beyond any other festival. They were the first festival I ever went to that had locks on the disabled toilets. And anything at all, if you've got any kind of problem, you ask them and they will straight away try and sort it out.
If he said he wanted to go in the trees, I'd probably say no. Bad idea. But I mean, like if you really wanted to get in the trees, I mean, we probably could get the guys over here and work it out.
I don't use the accessibility platforms most of the time. I like to be in the crowd, but I do think it's brilliant that they've got them because some people can't. And if you're right at the back of the crowd, you need to get into those.
Deaf Events UK is making events and festivals more accessible for deaf people. So we've been here for 2 years. We have a group with us this year. Their name is Deaf Rave. And they're a group of deaf DJs and deaf rappers.
My second time at Boomtown, but this year is much better because there wasn't any deaf rave last year.
We provide interpreters on the stage so they can watch and see the lyrics along with seeing the performance, feeling the vibrations and the lights, because Boomtown is very visual.
Now it feels like there's more deaf awareness because there's lots of love around for deaf people, for them to get involved and be supportive. It's lovely.
The level of care that goes into the festivals to make this work, it's amazing. And I'm really, really proud to see how that it's come to that and be a part of it.
We really want to create a movement ourselves and our own chapter here and in the future and just make it bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh, Boomtown, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't.
We love Boomtown.
We love Boomtown. Nobody should be excluded, you know. Boomtown's an inclusive festival, you know, and we're looking to be the most inclusive festival on the planet. And everybody should just be able to enjoy the love and the fun.
Over 10 years, a community has been building from all walks of life, from all corners of the world. In the beautiful South Downs National Park, a place we call home for 5 days. But there are major issues. Environmental crisis is on us. A throwaway mentality has become normalised. Society has evolved beyond a sustainable level. We can work together to change this. The time is now. Our world, our environment, our future.
Whatever part of this industry that you're in, it's all about that passion and that desire. And you know, if you look at the most successful people within it, they all have that desire to be, whether it be the best entertainer or the best sound engineer, lighting designer, whatever it may be.
It covers a wide range of different shows, for everything from festivals to corporate events to theatres to film and TV. It's just huge. I think people just don't realise the vast scale of the UK entertainment industry.
You get to create memories for people as they connect to the music or the performance that's on stage, and that creates a memory in their life, and they carry that with them.
I'm always incredibly proud to be an ambassador for this industry and for this industry in the UK. We work in a way that is unlike anywhere else in the world, and that people aspire to work to our standard, both creatively and technically.
I believe that the industry brings in over 100 billion to the UK economy, and I also believe a couple of years ago that this particular sector is the largest grant. I do think that it is obviously a substantial contributor to the politics and the finances that this country has today.
You know, there's a different amount of people involved who set up the lights, who set up the video screens, who ensure that all the audio works correctly, runs the cables through the fields. So these individuals make these festivals happen.
For that band of 4 or 5 people to walk on stage, there can be 400 or 500 people involved in making that happen, of which between 100 and 150 are actually travelling with the band.
The Prime Minister has announced the most drastic limits to our lives that the UK has ever seen in living memory.
From this evening, I must give the British simple instruction. You must stay at home.
From the touring and theatre side, it was pretty much a light switch off. Similarly for broadcast, when sporting events stopped, their equipment in OB trucks and TV centres stopped. So we're holding on, but it's not easy at the moment.
From June to the end of August is festival season, and I think most rental companies will agree that festival season, you probably do, I don't know, 50% of your income of your annual income over a 3-month window there. So the complete loss of that has been, again, terrifying. I think, you know, we are probably looking now till maybe at best February, March next year. I think at the moment the confirmed losses are sitting somewhere for Adlib alone between 8 and 10 million. And I think the biggest issue right now is how many businesses are going to fall by the wayside between now and that magical reopening date.
It is the bigger shows, the stadium tours, the worldwide tours, which are not going to happen until next year, because that is based on the confidence of the public that they want to be in a venue that size with that many people around them. If they feel confident, they'll be there. I don't think that's going to happen until next year. What we do need is support right now, because we may not be here in 6 months' time.
We rely on a huge freelance workforce, including myself. You know, the creatives at the front end of all of this work. We're the makers, we're the beating heart of an industry, and we have been completely forgotten. We need the government to extend the self-employed support scheme. We need it to be tailored more for our industry. The whole industry needs a bailout. That's from the supply companies, supply chains, manufacturers, freelancers, buildings like the National Theatre, small theatre companies. The whole ecosystem of what we do needs support, because we are unlike any other industry.
We were the first industry out, and we'll definitely be the last industry back in. So consequently, we'll have the longest period of non-trading. We need to know that there's going to be some kind of financial help. If we don't get that, the investment stops. If the investment stops, the manufacturers struggle, and that whole supply chain is in danger as well then.
We haven't furloughed any of our R&D, we've kept them working, and the reason for that is that's our future as a company, but it's also a future for our industry, the country as well. R&D working on the baby, something after this.
So we need to make sure that this huge, wide, brilliant, unique industry that is worth so much to our country, to our exchequer, is is seen holistically and that its whole health is considered, and we can move forward together. And we can make brilliant decisions that can challenge how we make work, challenge many things about what we do and how we do them. We just need the opportunity to do that.
Boomtown's a feast for the senses, so it's our job to make that feast as nourishing as possible.
Festivals have been going on for thousands of years. The coming together of different cultures to exchange ideas, teach, learn, form relationships, all with this common goal, basically to celebrate life.
That's what first pulled me into the festivals, just feeling that kind of magic when people unite.
You can't put Boomtown in a box. We cover so many things and we represent so many different subcultures, music genres, that it's just impossible.
You got each of the districts, and each of the districts has its own identity, but we're habitual rule breakers. So you're always going to get a curveball, you're always going to get something different. And that's where the magic is, introducing people to something that they've never seen before.
I came in myself with certain styles of music that I knew, and over the years I've had to adapt that to learning about world music, learning about folk music, learning about techno, learning about new drum and bass, learning about old drum and bass, and that's what really encapsulates Boomtown, that we celebrate the old music, the heritage, with the new music that's coming through.
The passion, the magic, the energy the artists receive from a Boomtown audience, it's off the chain. It absolutely is incredible.
Someone said on Twitter, that is so unlike a Boomtown lineup. It makes it a Boomtown lineup.
We get excited by the idea of seeing two completely different acts next to each other on a big poster.
Nobody feels like they're left behind. It's just this big, encompassing music programming where the only real thing is, does it fit in terms of a Boomtown thing?
It would be boring if it didn't have people from different scenes.
The origins of the modern festival are born out of and influenced by all musical styles.
My parents came this year and they loved it all, and my dad doesn't look like he would be standing at the front of the mosh pit in Disorder Rally, but he was. You can't help but it get stuck in, especially when there's like immersive actors pulling you into places.
I remember going into the Sci Forest, just experiencing some, full-on trance DJ. I don't see that as part of my identity, but actually it was electric when I got in there. The sound system was just pounding and like just vibrating my entire body.
It's not just about the types of music that are coming in, but it's also the way that they are given out to the crowd. It's a multi-sensory experience.
There's a huge acts last year that came and they actually approached us, which was just mental to kind of get this call.
That is just a really incredible feeling, because it makes us realise that the message that we're trying to put out there is actually getting out there.
The music programming is all because that's what we want and what we're passionate about. The set design, the production, the respect, the ethos, everything, it all comes from this foundation of us being independent, and that is something that we will strive to keep.
We're all the same people that have been doing it most of our lives one way or another, and we come from a time when it was different. but we still create one of the most unique and beautiful pockets of freedom and acceptance in the world.
Every year we bring in a new stage, a new music genre, something changes, we evolve, and we just put in so much more.
Change is absolutely crucial for the development and the excitement to continue with something like Boomtown.
Loads of people are invested in it because they just love the vibe and the complexity of the story, and I think it allows the programme at Boomtown to be loads more risky and loads more diverse and encompass everything from mad healing types up in one corner to full-on gabba purists down at the other end, you know, and the junglists are always happy because it's everywhere in every strain of D&B and jungle.
We are working towards growing our community and inviting more and more people into the ever-evolving Boomtown family.
A coming together of tribes and communities, sharing of ideas, and then dispersion again to take those ideas into the wider community is such a valuable process. It's been happening organically for thousands of years anyway.